Before I went to bed last night, I got an email from a friend of mine who is an ardent Donald Trump supporter. In fact, my friend is a PhD. He used to run a child's prison, that is, a juvenile detention center. He's the son of a police officer. His uncle was a police officer as well and the bodyguard for former Philadelphia Mayor Frank Rizzo. Comes from a long line of people who have been in law enforcement. Likes to joke that he was raised lower middle class. Of course, he got the PhD, became highly successful in business, created radio programs. If you watch the new Mark Levin show and you see the Reagan desk that Levin has on the show, that was my buddy's idea. He's been an ardent, that is my buddy, not Mark Levin. My buddy has been an ardent Donald Trump supporter now since Trump announced his candidacy. Longtime conservative, and yet says he can square Trump's ideas for the future with his own conservatism because he thinks the nation needs to be shaken up. My friend is also a very, very dedicated and devout Roman Catholic who feels that abortion is simply nothing more, if you do it by choice, murder. If you premeditate it, it's obviously murder. Homicide, by the way, is what we like to call it, but homicide is the general catch-all for a killing, murder being the one that has the malice aforethought. 8 minutes after 9 o'clock, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and NewsRadio1310.com. Jumped a couple of degrees over the last few minutes. We're up to 41, on our way into the 50s today, 50s tomorrow as well, in the 60s over the weekend, and lots of sunshine. Not a cloud in the sky, according to the forecast at the moment. Donald Trump making an appearance on MSDNC with Chris Matthews. Chris Matthews also claims to be a dedicated and devout Catholic. He's actually flown on the plane with his local bishop, Cardinal Wuerl, from Washington to Rome on a few occasions. Although Matthews is a liberal Democrat, has worked for liberal Democrats. His wife is a liberal Democrat and running for Congress and is closely associated with Hillary Rodham Clinton. And the two of them are discussing abortion. And, of course, Matthews is saying, look, you're the presidential candidate. We need to know your views. Trump, on the other hand, actually presses Matthews, too, as well. This has become somewhat controversial. We'll explain why in just a few minutes.
This is not something you can dodge.
If you say abortion is a crime or abortion is murder, you have to deal with it under the law. Should abortion be punished?
Well, people in certain parts of the Republican Party and conservative Republicans would say, yes, they should be punished.
How about you?
I would say that it's a very serious problem, and it's a problem that we have to decide on. It's very hard.
But you're for banning it.
Are you going to say, well, wait, are you going to say put them in jail? Is that the punishment
no, but I'm asking
you're talking
you,
about?
because you say you want to ban it. What's that mean?
I am pro-life, yes.
What is ban? How do you ban abortion? How do you actually do it?
Well, you'll go back to a position like they had, where people will perhaps go to illegal places.
Yeah.
But you have to ban it.
You ban it and they go to somebody who flunked out of medical school.
Are you Catholic?
Yes, I think
And how do you feel about the Catholic Church's position?
I accept the teaching authority of my church on moral issues.
But do you know their position on abortion?
Yes, I do.
And do you concur with that position?
I concur with their moral position, but legally, I get to the question. Here's my problem with it.
No, but let me ask you, but what do you say about
It's not funny.
Your church? Yeah, it's really not a funny thing. What do you say about your church? They're very, very strong.
They're allowed to, but the churches make their moral judgments, but you running for president of the United States will be chief executive of the United States. Do you believe believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah.
Now, today, Trump is being pounded on by all of the liberals out there, and even some conservatives who simply don't like him, who are saying, oh, the woman is just a victim. Couple of points I want to make here. Number one, Chris Matthews, he's right. Trump is running for president. His views on this are likely more important than Matthews. On the other hand, Matthews has a huge megaphone. Well, he does work at MSDNC. Who knows? My audience might even be larger here in Twin Falls. But he has a megaphone. He's a public figure as well. He also has some influence on this matter. And did you hear him dodging as Trump was saying, well, what do you stand on all of this? Chris Matthews supports a woman's right to choose. Did you hear him say, well, yeah, morally I'll agree with my church, but legally, he brings, it's what's called bringing grave scandal. That's what it says in the Catechism of the Roman Catholic Church, especially when a public figure of that stature will do that. He's right there with John Kerry, Nancy Pelosi, and Joe Biden. I mean, these people are absolute scoundrels, and they are misrepresenting their faith, which will win them a very quick ticket to hell when their time comes. 12 minutes after 9 o'clock. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX, newsradio1310.com. Now, as far as Trump saying, yes, he'd bring charges against the woman. Oh, how dare he? Oh, this. All right. Remember that woman years ago down in Houston, Texas, who went out and drowned all of her children, and her husband came home, and like all 5 kids had been drowned by her? And then he said she shouldn't be charged. She's got a mental illness. You know, I thought they should have tied a couple of weights around her neck and tossed her into the local river. Let her see what it's like, and then perhaps other people who would claim that they're loonies would straighten up and fly right in those situations. But she was convicted for killing those children. She was under duress. It was said that she was under tremendous strain and stress. No one took that into account, right? She obviously killed them. She made that choice to do it. If you believe that that baby, that child in the womb, has the ability to be a living, breathing thing, created by God, and even if you don't believe in God, it was created still after that union of sperm and egg. My gosh, folks, when we say, well, we've got to just draw a line and say life starts here. Well, maybe we'll draw it over here. Maybe it starts at 17 years old. Who knows? So we can kill our children under 17. I'm going to tell you right now. If a woman goes into an abortion clinic and says, get rid of this, and the doctor does it and it's against the law, then the doctor, yes, has committed a crime. But the woman is complicit in that crime as well. She is not a victim. Can we make that clear? So for all of you lefties out there and all of you faux conservatives who just want to hammer Donald Trump on anything at this point because you're so desperate to get him off the stage, I'm telling you right now, I agree with what he just said there. If you kill your own baby, there are consequences. 9:14, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310, KLIX and newsradio1310.com. It's 41. You can reach our program today by dialing 736-0300 or email me at bill.colley@townsquaremedia.com. There's more on all of this. Trump derangement syndrome. We talked earlier about the young girl who got pepper sprayed at a Trump rally after she got into a scrum with some of the Trump supporters. If she'd stayed home, none of this would have ever happened. Trump derangement syndrome. Sean Hannity got into this really in depth. He sent David Webb out on the street to talk to some of the Trump protesters. Listen to some of these people and ask yourself if they're sober or not.
Are you protesting Donald Trump?
Yes.
What's the policy that you object to?
All of it.
Just like the things he says about women and like the racism.
Like what?
Too many. Yeah.
He does not support other races.
He's got too much money.
He has to be respectful to everyone, because we don't want that kind of people leader for our nation.
Because I think that he is entirely un-American in the way that he goes about his politics.
He's very homophobic and he's racist, and he's just fear-mongering.
Are you working with a group? You've got a UAW sign right there.
Donald Trump has accused me of whatever. No, I do not. Yes, I am union. Union is standing.
With the way things are, I think Trump is gaining a lot of ground because he's
I support Bernie Sanders 120%.
Yeah. You realize the collective IQ of that crowd is smaller than my shoe size? And yet they're getting paychecks. From the same friend who sent me the link about Chris Matthews sent me a link a few days ago. It's an advertisement that is being run, and it says, hey, you welfares come out, we'll give you enough money to go buy another 40-ouncer. And so they come out and they take part in these demonstrations. You're up next. You're on the air on KLIX.
Hello?
Yes, hi, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yes, I was listening to your previous segment about the growth in Twin Falls. And I just really am against that, because I like the way Twin Falls used to be 20, 30 years ago. Why do we have to encourage growth? Which got to have new streets, new sewer, new police department.
As opposed to like the old streets and the old sewers and
Yeah, it was just fine.
Smaller hospital without as many specialties.
You got to have all this stuff. New city hall, new police department, new sewers, new water.
Well, of course, in the United States, we all have the choice of getting up and moving.
Yeah, well, that's why 30 years ago, I moved here because it was such a nice little town. You could drive down the street. You didn't have all that traffic and everything. Where am I going to move to next? Fairfield?
I don't know. Why not?
Yeah, well, that sounds like a good idea, but everybody encourages growth, and it just causes the taxpayers a lot of money is what it does, because they got to have all these improvements to go along with the growth.
Well, a lot of those improvements, I think, you are paid by the newcomers. We should note that. Of course, you got a world-class hospital now, which you didn't have before. And you got about, 200 restaurant choices that you didn't have before. You got 4 or 5 grocery stores all competing, and the grocery prices are dirt cheap. Trust me on that. When they're undercutting Walmart, you know that's true. So you got that. So you're better off there. Because of the increased businesses and the increased tax base, you've got more people available to fill potholes. So you've got that. Look, I like small town living too. I grew up in a small town, smaller than Kimberly. But I'm going to tell you right now, if that's what you want, then pack up and move. Nobody forces anyone to live in Twin Falls. 9:18, Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and News Radio. Growth is a good thing. Growth means better roads. Growth does mean better sewers. Growth does mean better hospitals. Growth means more choices, shopping and eating and all of those things. But, I just was reading the other day where little towns, the leader of the National Grange was complaining that the FCC is going to change some regulations. That old bill that allowed people in rural areas to have cell phones and the like because they didn't have good coverage. The FCC is going to be dropping all that and making some changes, and she's upset. Of course, first of all, the government doesn't necessarily need to be involved in all of that. But the smaller area you live in, the less of those amenities you have. And if you don't have things like good internet access and broadband, then you can't attract new businesses. And if you can't attract new businesses, then everybody's working for peanuts. But hey, if you don't like it, again, use your 2 feet, leave. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com. Should point out, too, as well, I got a little bit more left to go here on this situation with the Trumpistas, if you will, and somebody complaining about Trump getting free media, which he does get a lot of, I'll admit, but there's a new twist on that, and that's the fact that apparently a lot of the other folks who've had the opportunity to take advantage of free media during this election cycle haven't been doing it. They complain, but they refuse to get involved. Got more details on that coming up in just a few minutes. Bill Colley with you on Top Story on News Radio 1310 KLIX and newsradio1310.com.